The junk ship in the desert. Jake Walker wiped sweat from his forehead as the hot desert sun burned overhead. He worked alone at his junkyard on the edge of nowhere, where old machines came to die. Ships, cars, bots. Broken, forgotten, left to rust. But today something was different. Buried under sand and metal scraps, he found a strange ship. It wasn't like the others. This one had smooth silver plates, no markings, and a faint glow around its edges. The shape was sleek, almost like a bird resting in the sand. Jake scratched his head. Never seen anything like this before. He pulled out his drone and scanned it. The results confused him. No data, no model number, no builder ID. Just one word. Unknown. Most people would leave it alone. Jake wasn't most people. He grabbed his old power loader and cleared the junk around the ship. Every time his tools touched the surface, the ship made a soft humming sound like it was breathing. "What are you?" he whispered. Inside, the ship was dark and quiet. No lights. No movement. He stepped in carefully, flashlight in hand. The walls were smooth and cold with faint blue lines running through them like veins. As he walked deeper, the ship suddenly lit up. Psst! Lights flickered on. Symbols lit up on the walls. None of them human. Jake backed up, heart racing. Okay, that's new. He reached a round console in the middle of the ship. It looked like a control panel, but unlike anything he'd ever seen. Curious, he touched it. Nothing happened. He sighed and sat down. Guess you really are junk after all. But as soon as he spoke, the ship responded. Voice detected. Calibrating. Jake stood up. What? Who said that? The ship made a soft, mechanical sound like a heart slowly starting to beat. Primary bondmate located. Activation sequence begins. Wait, what bondmate? I just found you in the dirt. The floor beneath him lit up. Glowing lines spread out from his feet like roots, running to the console and beyond. The ship vibrated gently at first, then stronger. Dust fell from the ceiling. A panel behind the console opened slowly. Inside was a clear pod. Someone, was inside. She was tall, with silver skin that shimmered faintly. Her hair floated like smoke inside the pod. She looked asleep, peaceful, beautiful. What? What are you? Jake whispered. The pod hissed. Steam escaped. The woman's eyes opened, bright violet. She stared at him. Greetings, she said in a soft voice, strange but clear. You are my chosen. I am your bride. Jake blinked. Come again? She stepped out of the pod. Her movements were slow, careful. She looked around, then at Jake. This ship is my body. I am bonded to you now. Jake laughed nervously. Okay, someone's playing a prank. Hidden camera show, right? She tilted her head. No prank, no joke. The ritual has begun. You touched the core. That is consent. Consent for what? The marriage protocol. We are now linked. I have awakened because of you. Lady, I don't even know your name. She stepped closer. My name is Sira. Designation, X-Class Brideship. My mission was to find a compatible human. That is now complete. Jake backed away. No way. I just wanted to fix and maybe sell you. Not marry a spaceship. Sira's eyes glowed for a moment. Refusal will damage the link. System may collapse. If the bond fails, I return to stasis, and this vessel will self-destruct to protect Imperial code. Jake stared at her, stunned. You're kidding. I do not understand the word kidding. He looked around the ship. It was humming now, fully awake, alive. So let me get this straight, he said slowly. You're part of the ship. You think we're married, and if I don't go along with it, the ship explodes. Sira nodded calmly. That is correct. Jake groaned. Why is it always me? He rubbed, his temples thinking fast. If he left now, the ship might go boom. If he stayed, he was stuck with an alien AI who thought they were soulmates. The worst part? Deep inside, he was curious. Part of him wanted to know more, wanted to know her. "Okay," he said finally. "I'll play along for now, but no kissing. And no weird space rituals." Sierra smiled faintly. "Understood." As he stepped deeper into the ship, lights followed his path. The junkyard outside seemed like another world. He had no idea what he just started, but he couldn't turn back now. The alien awakens. Jake didn't sleep that night. He tried. He really did. He even crawled into the old cot he kept in the back of his workshop, buried under cooling fans and rusted tools. But no matter how hard he tried, his eyes kept drifting toward the glowing ship outside. Toward her. Syrah. The name echoed in his mind like a song he didn't know the lyrics to. Who? Or what? Was she really? A weapon? An alien? A machine pretending to be human or something else? By morning, Jake made up his mind. He had to know more. The ship's hatch opened for him before he even touched it. The floor lit up, soft and blue as if welcoming him back. "Good morning," Sarah's voice said calmly. She stood near the central console, motionless, like she had waited all night. But something had changed. Her skin, once silver and smooth, now had faint golden lines running down her arms. Her eyes were brighter too, glowing slightly with every breath she took. "You've changed," Jake said slowly. "Yes," she replied. "The bonding sequence continues. My body adapts to you. The ship is syncing with your brain patterns." "That sounds kind of creepy," he muttered. Sarah tilted her head. "Do you wish to cancel the bond?" He hesitated. Canceling could mean triggering the self-destruct, and he didn't want to die just yet. Also, he wasn't sure he wanted to cancel. Not anymore. "No," he said at last. "But you're going to tell me everything. No more riddles. No more protocol this and ritual that. Just answers." She nodded. "Very well." The room darkened. Suddenly, holograms filled the air, spinning symbols, planets, warships, alien faces, languages he couldn't read. And one central image. Her pod, floating in deep space like a coffin waiting to be opened. "I was built by the Sarayan Empire," she began. "They do not love war, but they do not fear it. When peace must be made, they send a bride, a living vessel, one who bonds to a worthy mate of another species." "And if peace fails?" Jake asked. "The bride is the weapon. The ship becomes the sword." Jake swallowed. "So you're both diplomat and bomb?" Sarah nodded. "I was meant to marry a chosen leader from your species, someone trained, prepared." Jake laughed dryly. "They got me instead. Lucky galaxy." But Sarah didn't laugh. "This was not chance," she said, softly. "You were marked, selected, long ago." Jake blinked. "What do you mean?" She walked toward a hidden wall panel and placed her hand on it. It opened, revealing a box. Inside was something that took Jake's breath away. A child's, drawing faded, folded, clearly old. It was his drawing. He'd made it when he was 5 years old. A spaceship and a smiling robot girl holding hands with a stick figure boy. He remembered showing it to his mom. Then it disappeared. How did you get this?" he whispered. "You gave it to me," Sarah said. "In another life. Another timeline." "That's not possible," he said, but his voice was weak. Sarah stepped closer. "You were meant to find me. Across time, across war. The bond is older than you remember." Jake's mind spun. This had gone far beyond weird. Was she lying? Or was there something buried deep in his past? Something he couldn't remember? Suddenly, an alarm sounded inside the ship. Red lights flashed. Sirah's voice changed. Calmer, but colder. "Alert. Unknown signal approaching. Distance, 15 kilometers." Jake rushed to the console. "What is it?" "A scout drone. Not Sarian. Hostile origin unknown. On the screen, a small metal sphere floated toward the junkyard. Its body was black and spiked, like a sea urchin in space armor. Jake didn't recognize the design, but Sarah did. Her face hardened. "They've found me." "Who?" Jake demanded. "The Oathbreakers, those who swore peace, then betrayed it. They want to kill the bride before the bond completes. How long do we have?" Sierra turned to him, eyes glowing like fire. 1 hour. Jake backed away. "We can run, right? This ship can fly?" Sierra paused. "Not yet. Full systems. Offline, core charging. Then we fight?" Sierra nodded once. "We protect the bond." "And if we lose?" She looked at him, and for the first time her voice trembled slightly. "Then we die together." Outside, the desert wind howled, but inside the ship Jake stood taller. He didn't understand everything, but he knew one thing now. This wasn't just a ship. This was his ship, and he was no longer alone. Protocol 7. The desert sun burned hotter than usual, but Jake couldn't feel the heat anymore. Not when fear ran colder than ice in his veins. The enemy drone was still out there, circling in lazy loops above the junkyard, just beyond the hills. It hadn't attacked yet, but it was watching. Sierra said they had an hour. That was 20 minutes ago. "How long until the ship can fly?" Jake asked again. Sierra sat cross-legged on the glowing floor, her eyes closed, hands pressed to the ship's control core. Golden lights pulsed from her chest into the floor like veins of energy. 27 minutes, she whispered. "If I break the seal early, the ship will fly, but I will not survive." Jake froze. "Wait, what?" She opened her eyes slowly. "My body powers the final ignition. I'm the bridge between machine and mind. The bond keeps me alive. Break it too soon and the energy burns through me." "That's insane," Jake said. "There has to be another way." "There is," Sarah said, standing. "We complete Protocol 7. Jake blinked. "You said that yesterday. What is it exactly?" Sarah walked toward him, her steps slow, careful. She reached out and her fingers gently touched the side of his face. Warm, steady, human-like. But beneath the softness, he could feel the power humming under her skin. "Protocol 7 is the final step in the bond," she said softly. "It links our minds, our memories, our pain." "Sounds romantic," Jake muttered. "It is not romance," Sarah said. "It is war." The ship dimmed around them. A dome-shaped chamber rose from the floor, glowing symbols wrapped around it. In spirals, it looked ancient, like something built before Earth even existed. "Step inside," she said. Jake hesitated. "What happens in there?" "Truth," she replied. The chamber sealed behind him with a soft hiss. Inside, it felt like time stopped. Everything was quiet. Then light exploded around him. Visions, sounds, voices, memories that weren't his. Emotions that weren't his. He saw stars dying, cities burning, alien children crying out as steel giants marched over their homes. He felt loss, betrayal, hope, rage. He saw Sarah, not the calm version from the ship, but younger, standing in a hall of warriors. Others like her stood in rows. Many of them were already broken, burned, failed test subjects. Then came the selection. Her face showed no fear as her creators injected her with something bright and golden. Her screams shook the chamber, and when it was over, she was the last, one left standing. Jake dropped to his knees. He felt her pain. He became her pain. Then the vision changed. He saw himself, but younger, 7 years old, sitting alone at school, drawing strange symbols. The teacher asked him where he learned them. He didn't know, just dreams. He saw a government van outside his childhood home, men in suits talking to his parents. Tests, brain scans, questions, more dreams. Then, silence. Everything erased, memories wiped. But someone had left a mark deep inside his mind. A signal, a key. Jake gasped. He slammed his hand against the wall of the chamber. The visions vanished. He was himself again. But something inside him had changed. Outside, the drone began to descend. Black smoke poured from its vents. Its claws opened, revealing spinning blades and a glowing red sphere at its center. "They're coming," Jake said as he stumbled out of the chamber. Sarah stood waiting. Her eyes were gold now, not glowing, but burning. "You are unlocked," she said. "We are joined. Protocol 7 is complete." He looked at her. "I saw everything. Then you know what I am." He nodded. "And I don't care." The drone landed in the middle of the junkyard with a heavy thud. It scanned the area, its voice crackling. "Vessel detected. Alien signature confirmed. Bride termination authorized." "Not today," Jake said. Sierra raised her hand. A golden wave shot from her palm, forming a shield around the ship. The drone fired. Red beams slammed into the shield, sending shockwaves through the desert. Junk metal flew into the air like leaves in a storm. "Shield at 60%, Sarah said. "We can't just sit here," Jake growled. "We need to fight back." "We can," she said, placing her hand over his heart. "With your mind." Before Jake could speak, light poured from her body into his. He screamed, not from pain, but power. The ship responded. Metal groaned. Parts shifted. The control core rose from the floor, and Jake suddenly understood it. Not like reading a manual, but like remembering a childhood dream. It felt natural. He placed his hands on the controls. The ship moved. It stood up. Not like a plane, but like a living beast of metal and flame. The drone backed away. "Warning," it crackled. "Unauthorized weapon detected." "Retreat," Jake fired. Golden beam tore through the sky, slicing the drone in half. Both pieces crashed in flames across the sand. Silence, just dust, smoke, and a rising sun. Jake stepped out of the ship, shaking. Sierra followed him. "You've activated the first form," she said. "You are now the pilot." Jake looked at the burning wreck. "And that was just the scout?" Sierra nodded slowly. "Yes, the real enemy will come soon. Now that they know the bride lives, and the human has accepted the bond." Jake clenched, his fists. He didn't know what the future held, but one thing was clear now. This wasn't just a broken ship. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a war, and he had already taken the first step into it. The hunters' arrive night fell fast in the desert, but tonight it didn't bring peace. It brought silence. Not the quiet kind, the dangerous kind. No wind, no animal sounds, not even the hum of distant machines. Just silence, and the feeling of being watched. Jake stood outside the ship, gripping a metal rod he had sharpened into a spear. It wouldn't help much if they came, but it made him feel a little less helpless. Sarah hadn't spoken in the last hour. She was inside the ship, lying inside the repair cradle. Her energy was low after defending against the drone. She needed time to recover, but time was running out. Then the sound came. Not loud, not sharp. A whisper. It echoed across the sand like dry leaves brushing metal. Jake turned toward the sound. A shadow moved between piles of scrap. Then another, and another. Too smooth, too fast, too quiet. They weren't animals. They weren't drones. They were something else. Jake stepped back slowly. "Eyes wide, Sierra," he whispered. "They're here." No answer. He turned to run inside, but something leaped from behind a pile of old solar panels and tackled him hard. He hit the ground with a grunt, the spear flying from his hands. His attacker was small, but heavy. Armored, skin, long fingers with sharp ends, glowing blue eyes. It hissed into his face. Then more of them appeared. 7. Maybe 8. Moving like insects, but thinking like wolves. One pointed at him. The others circled. They didn't kill him. They waited. They were waiting for something. Then, from behind the hills came a deep rumble. The ground shook. Sand cracked open, and something massive stepped into view. Jake had never seen a ship like that. It didn't fly. It walked. A tower of black metal on two thick legs, eyes glowing red. Its front split open with a hiss, and a tall figure walked out. Not a machine, not a soldier, a hunter. Its body was wrapped in black armor that shimmered like oil. Its face was hidden behind a mask with long silver tusks. But the moment Jake saw it, something inside him twisted. This wasn't a scout. This was a collector. The hunter looked at him. No words, just silence. Then it held up a small device, a glowing stone with a blue flame inside. The little creatures around Jake dropped to one knee. They were not in charge. They were servants. The hunter walked slowly to Jake, studying him like he was a puzzle. Then it spoke, but not out loud. In his mind, "You are not ready, but the bond is formed. Too early. Too soon." Jake gasped, clutching his head. "You opened the door. Now the lock is broken." "Who are you?" Jake forced out. The hunter tilted its head. "Your kind was erased for this mistake before. Now the bride wakes again. And you are the key." "What key? What mistake? What are you talking about?" "You are not supposed to bond. Not with her. Not yet. Not as human." Those last two words shook him. "What do you mean, not as human?" Jake asked. The hunter raised its hand. A hologram appeared. It showed Jake as a baby, floating in a pod. Surrounded by light, alien symbols glowed across the pod. Not English, not Earth tech, alien words. Alien science. Alien blood. Jake stared in horror. He wasn't born on Earth. He was put there. "Liar," Jake whispered. "You're lying." "Ask the ship," the hunter said. "Ask the bride. She knows." Before Jake could say anything else, the hunter pointed toward the sky. A beam of red light shot upward. It cracked the clouds open like glass. A signal, a warning, a call. The hunter turned and walked away. The small creatures followed, vanishing into the sand. The ship was no longer a secret. Others were coming. Jake stumbled into the ship. "Sarah!" he shouted. She was already awake, her eyes wide, glowing. "You saw him," she said. "He showed me things that can't be true." She nodded. "They are true. I didn't tell you before. It wasn't time." "Then tell me now," Jake said. "What am I?" Sarah looked at him, her voice soft but shaking. "You are not just a human. You are a carrier, part of the last line, part of the forgotten plan. You were hidden on Earth, long ago, because your kind was too dangerous to keep." "Why me?" he asked. "Because you were the only one who survived." Outside, the wind howled again, and this time it carried a whisper. "He's waking up." The awakening. The sun rose, but the sky stayed red. Something had changed during the night. Jake stood outside the ship, staring into the horizon. He felt it in his bones. A pull. Not pain, not fear. Something deeper, something ancient. Behind him, the ship hummed softly. It was healing, repairing itself faster now, like it knew time was short. And inside, Sarah watched him, not with worry, not with love, with dread. "You're not the same," she said finally. Jake turned to her. "How can I be?" "That hunter showed me things I don't understand." Sarah nodded slowly. "Because you were never meant to understand. Not until now." She stepped forward, placed something in his hand, a piece of smooth black glass, round and cold. "What is it?" he asked. "A memory core," she said. "It belonged to the first. He was like you." "Human? No," she whispered. "Chosen." Jake held the core tight. Suddenly, it pulsed. A flash of light filled his mind, and the world around him vanished. He stood inside a memory. Not his, someone else's. He was inside a great hall. Glowing pillars, alien writing, 10 tall figures standing in a circle. They were not human, but they feared something. A voice spoke, loud and clear. The human blood is unstable. It adapts. It survives everything, even destruction, another answered. Then we must scatter them, bury the seed, hide the last of their kind. But what if the carrier awakens? Then the bride will follow, and the war will begin again. Jake gasped and dropped the core. His hands were shaking. He looked at Sierra. What am I? You are the last piece of a weapon they feared, she said. They thought you were lost. They thought you would never wake up. He backed away. But I'm just a scrapper. I lived in dirt. I slept in an old tent. That was your cage, Sarah said. They kept you weak, kept you from knowing what you truly were. He stared at the sky. Then why now? Why are they coming now? Sarah's voice dropped. Because you bonded with me. The moment I activated, they felt it. The bond is power, and they want to destroy it. A loud crack split the air. They ran outside. In the distance, the desert was breaking open. Metal towers rose from beneath the sand, unfolding like blooming flowers. Ships, tall and thin. Alien ships, waking from the ground like seeds that had waited for years. Jake's heart pounded. How long have they been here? Longer than your city. Longer than your world remembers. Then a horrible thought hit him. These aren't new ships, Sarah nodded. They're the original hunters, the ones who destroyed your kind. They're here to finish it, but something changed inside Jake. Fear didn't crush him this time. Anger did. He turned back to the ship, eyes glowing faint gold. What's happening to me? Sarah stepped back, her voice shaking. Your body is responding. The bond is waking your core. My core? Yes. It's buried in your blood. Old coding. Old design. Your body was made to fight back, if it had to. Suddenly, the ship pulsed. Its door closed without touching. Tools and lights inside moved on their own. It's reacting to you, Sarah whispered. You're sinking. With it. Jake held up his hand. A panel lit up on the ship's wall. He didn't touch it. He just thought it. Sarah watched in silence. She knew what this meant. The ship was never hers. It was his. He wasn't the passenger anymore. He was the pilot. Outside, the first hunter ship landed. It did not fire weapons. Instead, it screamed, a signal, a challenge. Jake turned toward it. He wasn't ready. He knew that, but for the first time, he didn't feel like running. He felt something inside him rise, like a sleeping lion waking up. They want a war? He said quietly. Sarah nodded. Then let's give them one. Deep inside the alien ship, a hidden room unlocked. A suit waited, not metal, not cloth, living armor. It opened for him, slowly, like a flower blooming under sunlight. Sarah looked at him, eyes wide. If you put it on, she whispered, there's no going back. Jake stared at the suit, then he stepped inside. The armor closed around him, and when it sealed, the whole ship shook. The human weapon had awakened. The forgotten war the armor felt alive, not like wearing a suit, more like being swallowed by something that knew him, his fears, his anger, his pain. Jake stood still as it sealed around his body. He could hear his own heartbeat. Loud, slow, steady. The ship's lights turned golden. A quiet voice spoke inside his mind. It wasn't Sarah. It wasn't human. User recognized. Codename, Sentinel, initiating memory unlock. His vision blurred. The world disappeared again. He saw Earth, but it was different. Huge silver towers reached into the clouds. Humans flew without ships, walked with energy wrapped around their bodies. They were not weak, not forgotten. They were feared, respected, the strongest race in the stars. But then he saw the war, A sky filled with burning ships. 100 alien races joined together, attacking Earth systems. And at the center of it, a council. Siraz, kind, others like her, all voting. The humans cannot be allowed to rule, said one voice. Then erase them, said another. Wipe their minds, destroy their technology, scatter the survivors. They'll return, warned a third. Not if we break the bond, said the last. Destroy every ship like this one. And hide the brides. Jake woke up screaming. Sierra grabbed his shoulders. What did you see? He was breathing hard. They betrayed us. He looked at her, eyes glowing again. Your people helped destroy Earth? She lowered her gaze. I wasn't born yet, but yes, they voted for the purge. Then why were you on that ship? Because not all of us agreed. Some believed in the bond. They believed that if the right human and the right bride connected, the old strength would return. And they were right, she whispered. A blast shook the desert. The first hunter ship fired a warning shot. It didn't hit. It didn't need to. They were coming. We have to move, Jake said. The armor opened the ship's interface. A map appeared, old. Human symbols marked across a dead landscape. There's a hidden base, Jake said. Beneath the ash cliffs. It's from before the purge. Sierra stared. How do you know that? Because the ship showed me. My ship. They climbed in. The ship rose, engines silent. But something was wrong. A second hunter ship had arrived. This one was different. Bigger, darker, shaped like a scorpion. They're not just watching us now, Jake said. They're hunting. They flew, the ship shook. We're being scanned, Sierra said. Can they track us? Not unless they tag us with a blood beacon. Jake didn't like the sound of that. The base was buried deep beneath broken cliffs, old metal towers stuck out of the rock like bones. As they landed, the ship's systems flickered. Core match detected, sentinel access granted. Doors opened. They walked into darkness. Then lights flickered on, not dim, not flickering, bright, alive, waiting. Sierra's mouth fell open. This place, it's human. Jake nodded. Or it was. They found weapons on the walls, but not guns. Gloves with burning light inside, helmets that whispered warnings, data pads showing old blueprints, names, battle plans, and at the center, a tall crystal, pulsing slowly. Jake touched it. His mind exploded. Again. He saw the final battle. Humans falling, betrayal from allies. But one survived, a man in armor like Jake's. He stood over a broken council ship. He didn't look afraid. We will sleep, the man said. But we are not gone. One day another sentinel will rise. And when he does, they will remember. Jake pulled back. His face was pale. Sierra looked scared. What did it say? He looked at her, voice shaking. I'm not the first. Suddenly alarm screamed. Red lights flashed. Outside, hunter ships descended like vultures. Sierra gasped. They followed us. The walls shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The ship's voice echoed again. Defense protocol unlocked. Jake turned to the armory. The suit on the far wall opened. It was meant for him, but it wasn't alone. Next to it, another suit. Sleek. Curved. Meant for her. Jake looked at Sierra. Can you fight? She looked at the suit, touched it, and it opened for her. Outside, the hunter commander stepped forward. He held something in his claws. A chain. At the end of it, a human skull. Jake's eyes narrowed. He wants a message. Sierra stepped beside him. Then let's give him one. Bonfire. The hunters came down like a black storm. 5 ships. 20 warriors. Each wore armor made from stolen tech. Part alien, part human. They thought it gave them power. They had no idea what real power was. Not yet. Jake stepped out of the base. First, his armor had changed. No longer dusty gray. Now it pulsed with a deep blue light, tracing across his chest, his arms, his face. His eyes glowed like twin suns. Behind him, Sierra followed. Her suit shimmered like molten silver. A soft humming came from her chest plate, almost like a heartbeat. Together, they looked like beings from an older time, from a war everyone tried to forget. The hunter commander laughed when he saw them. He raised the human skull again. "This was your last sentinel," he called out. He fell screaming. Jake said nothing. He only walked forward. Sierra stayed beside him, eyes sharp, fingers ready. "I don't want a war," Jake said. His voice carried, louder than it should have. The armor amplified it, wrapped it in power. "But if you bring it, here, you'll get something worse." The commander laughed again. "You? Alone?" "Not alone," Jake said. He reached over and grabbed Sierra's hand. Suddenly a burst of light shot between their palms, then spread across the desert like a ripple in water. The ground trembled. Something ancient awoke beneath them. Inside the hidden base, the crystal core spun faster. Old machines powered up. Energy lines lit the canyon walls. Satellites hidden in orbit blinked awake after centuries. The human signal had returned, and every system still loyal to the bonfire protocol answered. Above, the planet, a broken human warship, drifted in darkness. Its engines had been dead for 300 years, but now, it stirred. One eye blinked open, then its guns powered up. On the ground, the hunters charged. They moved fast, sharp, trained, but Jake moved faster. He leapt forward like a rocket, arm blades slicing through the first warrior's chest. Sierra spun, behind him, her palm glowing with pink fire. She struck the ground and it exploded, not with flames, but with raw force. The blast sent 3 hunters flying. More came. They swarmed. One landed on Jake's back, claws digging into the armor. He didn't flinch. Instead, he grabbed the attacker and burned him from the inside out with a flash of power from his chest plate. Sierra screamed a warning. Too late. A hunter hit her in the side. She fell, hard, gasping. Jake turned, eyes wide. "Sierra!" The commander stepped forward. He held a different weapon now. Ancient, human-made, a forgotten relic stolen during the purge. He pointed it at Jake. "One blast and your bond breaks forever." He fired, but Sierra, bleeding, rolled into the path. The beam hit her instead. Everything went still. Jake caught her in his arms. Her suit flickered, her eyes dimmed. "No. No, stay with me," he whispered. She tried to speak. "I chose you," she breathed. "Not because of duty, but because I knew you'd remember who we are." Then she went limp. The sky roared, not thunder, a ship, a human warship. It broke through the clouds like a falling star, massive, glowing with fire. The old Sentinel flagship. Awake again. Its cannons targeted the hunter ships. Its voice rang out across the battlefield. "Commander Jake, permission to engage." Jake looked up, heart pounding. Sierra's body still in his arms. "Permission granted," he said, voice shaking. The sky lit up. Energy blasts rained down. The hunter ships turned to dust. The ground cracked. The canyon shook, but Jake didn't move. He held Sierra, and as the dust cleared, the light from his armor shifted, from blue to gold. A soft hum answered his grief. Her hand moved, just slightly. Her fingers curled around his wrist. She whispered, "Still here." They stood slowly. The bond, stronger now, reborn. They looked at the commander, the last hunter standing. He fell to his knees, not from pain, but fear. He finally understood. The sentinels weren't weapons, they were warnings. Jake stepped forward, glowing like the dawn. "Tell them," he said. "Earth remembers. And we're done hiding." The hunter fled. The sky cleared. The ship hovered overhead. Sierra leaned against him. "So, what now?" He smiled faintly. "We find the others, the brides, the bases, the sleepers." He looked at her. "We bring humanity back." Echoes of the bond. The dust settled, but the war was far from over. Jake and Sierra stood at the edge of the ancient base, looking toward the horizon. The desert was quiet now. Too quiet. The hunter commander had fled, but his warning echoed in their minds. The bond is stronger, but so is the darkness chasing it. Inside the base, old screens flickered to life, maps of distant star systems, names of forgotten worlds, and a warning flashing in red. The bonfire protocol compromised. Sleeper units at risk. Sarah's fingers trembled as she touched the screen. Sleeper units, she whispered. Jake's eyes narrowed. Other humans. Like me. Like us. Waiting to wake. A sudden alarm shattered the silence. Outside, new ships appeared. Unlike any hunter they'd seen before. Sleek, fast, and cloaked in shadows. They're here, Sarah said, but not hunters. Something worse. Jake activated his suit's interface. A low voice responded inside his helmet. Warning! Unidentified hostile approaching. They raced to the ship, engines roaring, but before they could lift off, a blinding light exploded around them. Jake's world spun. He found himself in darkness. Then a voice echoed. Sentinel, you have awakened the Watchers. Who are you? Jake demanded. Guardians of the bond's balance, protectors against those who seek to misuse its power. A figure appeared, tall, cloaked in light and shadow. Your fight is not just against hunters, the Guardian said. There are those who want to steal the bond to control the galaxy. We have watched silently for centuries. Now, the balance shifts. Jake looked at Sierra, who slowly regained consciousness. What do we do? Find the others. Unite the sleepers. Prepare for the battle to come. Outside, the sky darkened. New enemies gathered. But Jake felt a new strength inside. The bond was more than a weapon. It was a promise. A flame that would not die. The hidden signal. Jake stood at the edge of the crater, eyes fixed on the dark metal fragments scattered around. The ground still trembled faintly beneath his boots, a warning that something buried deep beneath the surface was waking up. Sarah, he said, voice low but urgent. I'm picking up a strange signal. It's faint, but it's definitely artificial. Sarah wiped sweat from her brow and leaned over his shoulder, staring at the flickering readings on her wrist device. Could it be another sleeper? She asked. Or a trap? Jake shook his head. Not sure yet, but if it's a trap, it's waiting for us to come closer. The desert sky grew darker. Clouds rolled in fast, unnatural for this place. The air felt heavy, charged, like before a storm. But this was no ordinary weather. We don't have much time, Sarah said. The hunters will be back, and they won't come alone. Jake nodded, heart pounding. Then we find the source. Whatever it is, it could change everything. They moved carefully toward the signal, navigating the jagged edges of the crater. Suddenly, Sarah froze. Wait. A faint hum filled the air, mechanical but old, like a heartbeat of a machine long asleep. It's coming from below, Jake said. He found a narrow tunnel opening covered by broken metal plates. Help me clear this, he whispered. Together, they pushed the heavy debris aside, revealing a dark passage that led underground. Ready? Jake asked. Sirah nodded. As they entered, their flashlights revealed walls covered in strange symbols, alien, but somehow familiar. The hum grew louder. Then, deep inside the tunnel, they saw it. A pod, sleek, metallic, covered in dust but still intact, and inside the pod, a figure, motionless but unmistakably alive, an alien bride. Her eyes suddenly flickered open. Jake and Sarah froze. Then, with a voice both soft and powerful, she spoke. You found me. Now, the real battle begins. Outside, the desert wind screamed louder, warning of enemies closing in. The hunters were returning, and this time, they brought a secret weapon. The bride's secret. The alien bride's eyes shone with a strange light in the dim tunnel. Jake and Sirah stood still, their breaths caught between fear and awe. I am called Elira, she said softly. I was sealed here long ago, waiting for the one who would free me. Jake looked at her, puzzled. Why were you sealed? Elira's voice grew steady, but a shadow crossed her face. Because I carry the key to a power too dangerous for many to hold. The hunters want it. So do others. Darker than even them. Sarah stepped closer. What kind of power? Elira's gaze pierced them. A power that can rewrite the stars, control life and death, bind souls together beyond time. Jake felt a chill. This was more than a simple rescue mission now. The desert, the ship, the bond, it all led to something much bigger. Suddenly, the tunnel shook violently. Dust rained down. The hunters were not far behind. We must move, Elira said urgently. They will try to take me, and if they succeed, all worlds will fall into shadow. Jake grabbed his weapon, ready for the fight. Tell us how to stop it, Sarah demanded. Elira's eyes softened. There is a ritual, a connection that must be made. Only those who truly share the bond can perform it. Jake exchanged a look with Sarah. They had come this far, risking everything. Then we fight together, Jake said firmly. Together, Sarah agreed. The tunnel's exit was near, but so was danger. Outside, the hunters' ships darkened the sky like vultures. The final battle for the bond and for the fate of the galaxy was about to begin.